Welcome back, College Baseball Central fans and the fans of Best Coast Pod. This is Beaver Talk. We've done a couple of these now. We've had some great guests on, and I'm really excited about this next guest, Scott Amerman. I've known Scott for 20 plus years. Big baseball fan, fishing guide here in the state of Oregon. Great guy. Love having him on. Scott, how we doing today, man?
Oh, doing good, man. It's nice to have the sun out, do that kind of stuff. And honestly, I just spent the day kind of cleaning up my fishing shop, garage, stuff like that since I wasn't fishing today. So it's kind of glad to do something other than that right now.
Glad to get into something else that's not that. Absolutely. It was a gorgeous day here too. Just happy to be absolutely getting some sunshine. So wonderful
Sure.
out there. Little bit better than what was going on this weekend for our Beavs. You know, they struggled a little bit. Now sitting at 30-9 overall, 10-7 in the Pac-12. Scott, we're a little bit through halfway now of the season and into Pac-12 play now. What grade do you give this team? I know that the expectations were so high. They're still a top 10 baseball team.
Sure. So, for me, I would probably still give it a B plus. I wanted to say, probably an A, but I'm going to be honest and say B plus after the last, 8 or 9 days of baseball, which we dropped 5 games. We lost 5 games by a combined 6 runs. I mean, what's hard to do is lose that many close games. And I think we've got a pretty awesome team, but I don't think the casual fan really watching our team understands how many injuries we've went through. I mean, I know you and I were at the Diamond Dinner together earlier this year, and we're sitting there, we're seeing Leif Palmer and Aiden Jimenez and these players, and we're going, these guys aren't going to play for us this year.
Yeah.
And, fortunately, we've got Leif Palmer back, but you can't say he's up and healthy yet. I mean, he's humming at 95 of the day. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But, we started off with a couple of those kind of injuries. And then, all of a sudden, boom, we lose Aiden May in the Arkansas game. How many teams in the nation out there, if you take away Arkansas's Friday night guy or LSU's Friday night guy, what does their schedule look like the rest of the way? How many teams crumble when you take away their Friday night guy? Everybody else steps up, everybody else moves up. But while we were having, a couple of guys in Jimenez that was really good last year, even pitched in the regional well against LSU, we thought he was going to be a key part for us this year. And we're sitting there thinking that we're going to have these pieces and they're not there. And then we go to our bullpen and Kyle Scott's injured and we go, down the list. We still haven't seen AJ Lattery come back. We haven't seen Tyler Mejia out for large chunks of time. I'm sure I'm missing a lot of names of guys we had out that were, this kind of stuff. I'm still waiting to hear some kind of report from Lattery, but I'm guessing he's not coming back if he's been out this long.
Yeah.
So you look at all those injuries, and then you look at the game, like the second game we played against Nevada that we lost by a run. We're without Travis Bazzana, arguably one of the best players in college baseball right now. We're missing our two-hole hitter, Mike McDowell, who is phenomenal. We're missing 2 guys that did cleanup for us this year.
Yeah.
And Trent Caraway, we're missing Brady Casper. So at least 4 of our top 5 hitters are out. How would other teams do? You take some leading hitter off other teams and what are they going to do? And we're missing 4 of our top 5, and we're still playing every day. And now that's a really good thing for us, and that we've got to see a lot of people play. We got to see Dallas Macias out there, Easton Talt, a bunch of guys like that. Wilson Weber stepped right in and has been phenomenal at catching and that kind of stuff. But because of these injuries, Jacob Craig's all of a sudden getting to play first base every day. We weren't really sure where he was going to pencil into that lineup. So it's invaluable for us to get these kids an opportunity to play, getting a lot of young arms out there. Our coaches are going to figure out what works and what's not. But like you said, we're 30-9 through all of that. So, I mean, maybe B plus isn't enough. I don't know. What do you think?
So I'm sitting right now at a B plus as well. I had them at an A minus going into this weekend, and then this weekend was tough, right? And we knew, yeah, that second Nevada game, Scott, we're missing 5 guys that were in the opening day starting roster lineup. And you're sitting there going, okay, guys have stepped up. Dallas Macias has been huge. He's been terrific. Jake Craig has been great, right? You look around though, you're missing arms, you're missing bats, you're missing guys. Guys are playing out of position. It's been starting to add up a little bit to the Beavs, and it's okay. Beaver fans, it's not the end of the world. We're in the middle of the season. You don't want to be the hottest team in April. Trust me, that doesn't pan out. It hasn't panned out for many, many, many years. Be the hottest team in May. There's a lot of time left. Guys are getting healthy. Like you mentioned, Aiden May's back. He seems to be healthy, right? He's going to be able to go 100 plus pitches now. Jacob Komatz seems healthy. He hasn't overthrown yet this year. Segura going on Sundays. Now you're going to get some bullpen arms back and get some guys healthy. It all adds up to positive things. And I know missing Scott has been hurting in that bullpen because he really was going to have a chance of being the closer. Now he's set up to the setup guy. Bridger Holmes has had to throw a lot of really critical innings, and for him to stumble a little bit this week, it's okay.
I
Take a
mean,
deep
Kyle
breath.
Scott, like you said, was going to be the closer, and then he's the setup guy, and then we don't see him for any of these games. All
Yeah.
of a sudden, he's out for 6 games. So where was he? If he was healthy, you think he'd be back there throwing. So we don't get a lot of injury information, which you all know. But struggling this week wasn't just a Beaver thing. I think 13 of the top 25 teams lost half or more of their games this week. Like that's like everybody struggles. It's baseball. If you think you're going to go out and win every game, maybe the 2017 team for the Beavers, was as close as you'll ever see getting to 55-4. But we don't see that in any kind of baseball. So people are going to lose games, and that's pretty common. I
Yeah,
think
there's
that
still less than
everybody's
10
losing
teams.
games. And
Yeah,
yeah,
still less than 10 teams have 30 wins. So these folks that are panicking right now, you're fine. Everything's fine. Only 3 teams, Scott, in my top 25 didn't lose a game this weekend. Everybody else lost. So
yeah.
3 out of the top 25 didn't lose. I mean, so you're talking about guys that lose a game. It's not the end of the world. There's still a lot of season left. Still get to play Oregon, still get to play Arizona. The whole season is still ahead of this Beaver team, and they're getting healthy, right? So we're starting to see guys like Casper coming back. He's starting to look really good. McDowell, we're hoping he's going to be back at some point full time as well. So that lineup starts to shore back up, and then you've got all these guys that have this experience. It's great to see for me as an experienced Beaver fan. I'm sure for yourself as well.
No, it is for sure. And I mean, hopefully Micah's back. He played the second game at Cal, got taken out in the latter part. Maybe we thought it was a defensive replacement or whatever, and then he didn't play on Sunday. So all of a sudden you go, man, is he possibly injured again? That kind of stuff. And Brady, I mean, it's hard to replace gameplay. He's not out there facing live pitching and that kind of stuff. So over the weekend, he had way more competitive at bats than he was having the first 2 games back. So I think it's going to take those guys a while to get back in the groove and do that kind of stuff. You can't expect them just to jump back in first day of injury and, just take off and go nuts. So
Absolutely. And like we've said, there's plenty of time here. Still 4 series left in the Pac-12 play. Lots of time here to get these guys right. And that's what it's about. Okay, for folks that are freaking out, winning the conference is great. We love winning the conference, but it doesn't mean as much as being hot and healthy at the right time at the end of the season and getting into this tournament and being ready to go and putting themselves in a position to host. Right now, they're still top 16. They're still hosting. They're still just right outside that range there of being able to be, a fringe national seed. So we're not too stressed on this team at all here with this one. So, Scott, I lost your picture, by the way.
yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to turn it back on. There it goes. Let's see. There you go. Yeah, somehow I
Welcome.
bumped something on my laptop. And I don't know what I did. I shut it off, got it back. I heard you the whole time, but yeah.
Yeah, you were there still,
Yeah.
but we just didn't see you. So far, what has been your favorite moment of the season? I know there's a lot to choose from. We've had a lot of great performances. We've had a lot of guys do some big things. What has been your favorite moment this season so far?
It's hard not to be excited about Travis Bazzana doing 4 consecutive games with leadoff home runs or off the first pitch. I think 3 of those or something like that. I don't remember if he, if he got to 5, he got to 4, whatever it was. But I mean, that was pretty incredible watching him just game after game step in the box and hit a leadoff home run. And, that was pretty incredible. Probably my favorite moment this year was when we were playing Gonzaga. And they're pitching, and they just are clearly not going to pitch to Bazzana. They walk him the first 4 times he's up. They walk him twice intentionally. They give him nothing to hit. The other times where it was like 4 straight balls, clearly just pitching around him. And then the 5th at bat, they're way behind, so they decide they're going to pitch to him. And, they finally throw him some pitches, and he hits the, ball off the very top of the batter's eye in center field, where he almost cleared center field on a, somewhat cool, cold night at Goss. I mean, that ball was crushed to get that far out and that high up in the wall and that kind of stuff. So that was probably my favorite moment of the year. I mean, there's been so many great moments. It's hard to not love all of them. But how about you?
I have a couple. So, 2 young guys that both hit their first career home runs in Easton Talt and seeing the bomb there from Dally Macias. Big, big, big. I love seeing those. But I think it was that Saturday game against Arizona State where Komatsu goes out there and just shoves, and he goes the complete game 1 run. He had a perfect lineup going into the 9th inning, and I know we were talking about we were just silent.
Yeah.
We're like, "Don't tell us anybody. We're just watching the game." It's just
Yeah.
everything's going, the pickoff and the 2 double plays. I think that was the coolest mode because you got to see Jacob be back to himself, right? So he went out there, he was bouncing around, he was really excited to be out there. The guys were pumped around him; they weren't going to let him up. It was terrific. I think that was my favorite moment this season was Jacob Komatz being himself and getting back out there and being a dude and saying, you know what, I got this. And he's thrown really well through Pac-12 play. He's
Sure.
been really terrific.
No, I think Komatsu is doing really well. Eric Segura, man, this weekend, I mean, he, hit a little bump in the middle of the game and then just buckled down and pitched phenomenally the rest of the game. And, he was fired up, charging off the mound, excited, that kind of stuff. So we've had these great moments. I mean, Aiden May is back to full strength. So
Yeah.
it's fun to watch all those guys. I mean, it's a lot of times the little moments that you see, at the game and stuff like that they're exciting. So I totally get those other guys' first home runs.
Yeah. I just think when you get the first home run, it's just something else, especially in a Beaver uniform, and the fans were celebratory, and it was awesome. Especially Easton's, like people didn't think that he had that kind of pop, and dude sends that ball out, and we're just like, there it is, finally
Yeah.
been waiting for it. And people are like, what? He can hit those? I'm like, yeah, he hits them all the time in practice. He's just hasn't had enough game opportunities to show you that he's got that pop. It was great for me to see that one. All right. We're in the final Civil War series. I know you and I are both going to be at all 3 games. We're going to be up there screaming and cheering for this one and getting after it with those Pac-12 fans. And I cannot wait, but it's the final Civil War series in Pac-12 play. What has been your favorite Civil War game or your favorite moment from the rivalry? I know I've got a couple.
Yeah. So, man, it's been a lot of games, like I
We've
said,
seen a
it's
lot.
it's a lot, it's a lot of fun stuff. For me, it has to be, Michael Conforto in left field, a runner on third base. Ducks are down by a run. They smash a ball to left field, and Conforto comes running in and makes the catch, foot off the ground. You're thinking, oh my God, I can't believe he got to that. Then all of a sudden he decides to throw home to get the runner, and he fires a bullet home plate, and we tag the runner out for a game-ending double play. The catcher jumps up, spikes the ball. I mean, what was that, 2012 or something like that? I mean,
2012? Yeah.
that was a long time ago with Conforto out there, and like, I don't know, Goss just exploded. I mean, here everybody's on the edge of their seats, and Goss explodes. So that's hard to not be, my number one memory from the Civil War series.
That's fair. That was a big one. I think another one of mine that had kind of those feels was that rainy Friday night game in 2022. Ryan Brown out there, and he gets there and he gets that out, and he just points back to the dugout and like,
Yeah.
get out of here. That one was awesome for me. And also when you and I were down at PK Park, and it was like 50-50 Duck fans versus Beaver fans in that ballpark. And Boyd robs that ball in right field, and we just go bonkers, and the Duck fans are silent, and it was just such a great play. And then he hits a home run later in the game, and I think that those two, even though that the
Sure.
second one there was not actually a conference game, and we were out there in the middle week, I
Yeah.
think that was just awesome to see that the Beaver fans travel so well, and that Boyd made that huge play, and I know that it was tweeted all over the
Sure.
world that night because it was such a great play.
Someone got a really good photo of him all the way over the wall, catching that ball and doing that stuff. And, that's my favorite thing, to go down to Eugene. I tend to buy 20 tickets to every one of the games down there in Eugene because they don't fill their stadium. I mean, as much as the Ducks have had a competitive baseball team the last few years, it's just crazy that you can go down there the night before sometimes and buy 20 tickets or whatever. And so I tend to buy a lot of tickets every year. I got 20 plus tickets to the game this year on Tuesday. So I think it's next Tuesday.
Yeah.
And, like I said, we were all down there, we're filling that stadium where I think the most I've ever seen it is 50-50 Duck fans. And that was on a big giveaway night where they gave away all the fraternities, whichever fraternity showed up the most, they got free pizza party or something like that, or whatever. So, I mean, that was the one time it was 50-50. And so we turned that into a, road game that's a home fan base of everybody cheering. And said Boyd gets up over that wall and and catches that ball. They've moved their fences in 10 feet, so it's a little bit easier to hit one out. Might have been a warning track shot anywhere else, but he went up and got that ball. That was an incredible moment. That was one of my top ones too.
Yeah, it was so much. And then they did the duck hunt celebration at the end of that game. That was, well, we were
Yeah.
dying. We thought it was the best thing. The outfield went out there and met.
Yeah.
We've seen so many great players. We've seen so many of these great games. you and I have seen a lot of games, super regionals there at home. Of all the games you've been to, what's the favorite game you've seen live? I know you've had a few other cool ones, but let's get into some of these that were some of your favorite live ones.
Sure. There's, I mean, so many great, how do you beat Omaha? I know you went to Omaha last year, or the year
2 years ago,
before.
yeah.
So you went to Omaha and you got to go down there and experience that. If you haven't been to Omaha, it's something that, everybody owes themselves once in their lifetime to go. And I kind of put it on my bucket list to go and was going to try to get away for the championship series in 2017. And that didn't quite turn out. So 2018, I got there early, made sure I was there to see the whole thing. And I mean, just it was incredible. You can't beat Omaha. I mean, Omaha is just super fun. I mean, you know what it's like, that whole atmosphere, and you have all these fans there, and 90% of the teams, their fans are incredible and they're nice, and you're talking to these people from other areas and hearing about their life and what they're doing, the excitement of both teams and that kind of stuff. So it's pretty hard to beat.
That's fair. It really is one of the coolest places in college baseball. Now, I know going to a lot of stadiums, and I've been to a lot of stadiums all over the country. Omaha's special, right? You get 8 fan
Sure.
bases in, you get them there for the whole weekend, and everybody's there, and they're really just cheering on their guys, and they're cheering on their teams, but they want to get to know people. They're out there having a good time, enjoying college baseball, and it's been truly electric. I got two that I think were two of my favorite ones live that I've been to for the Beavs. '06 when they beat Stanford in the Super Regional to go to that College World Series was crazy. It
Sure.
was insane in that ballpark. I was out in the left field or the right field bleachers that they had put behind there,
They're
and
just kind of flimsy up
they
there. Yeah.
literally just it. We didn't feel safe because there
Did
was
they have
so
you
many
climb a
Beaver
ladder to
fans.
get up there, or what did they
Yeah,
do?
we had
You had
like
to
the
climb
like
up.
the
Yeah.
it was really sketchy, but there was like 100 of us out there in these stands that were makeshift, and but being out there with all those great Beaver fans, and who knew what it would become out there at Goss Stadium,
Yeah.
and then 2 years ago, beating beating Vanderbilt, in that game there, in that regional game where you and I were both sitting behind the Vanderbilt families and we're sitting
Yeah.
there cheering, and they like Vanderbilt was up in that game. OSU comes back, big hit by Internetti, and all of a sudden Oregon State takes the lead. And we look at each other like, Jerky's coming in, the game's over. This is it. And it was just, I think that was really cool to see the emotions too from Cooper getting out there on the mound and closing that one out.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite ones is Vanderbilt also, but it was in 2017 Super Regionals. We come out, they're
Supers.
bringing out Kyle Wright. I think a couple days after the Super Regional, Kyle Wright, gets drafted number 5 overall by the Atlanta Braves. We later see him go on to win 21 games in 2022, and I'm standing there, and his mom's sitting right there watching him pitch, and he's pitching against the Beavers, and we throw Bryce Femmel.
Fimmel.
Bryce Femmel goes out and throws a complete game, 10 strikeouts. The Beavers hit Kyle Wright, the soon to be number 5 overall pick, for 7 runs. I think we get a few more off their bullpen. We just completely destroy him. And I remember talking to his mom, and Kyle's mom's just bawling, crying, saying this is his last ever college game, and he's getting shelled and whatever. And I mean, like, that's a pretty cool moment. Like, that's just like, how do that that can't get better than that. Super regionals, going to the College World Series, and you're beating the best player in college baseball pitcher wise.
Yeah, I agree. And the 2022 series where I knew I was already going to Omaha. I had already booked everything, and we're sitting there for Game 3 against Auburn, and it doesn't go our way. But man, that one against Vandy in 2017 was also
Sure.
terrific to be in the ball game.
No, for
So
sure.
tons of years. We have so many Beavers of all time. Who are some of your favorite Beavs of all time that have been through the program?
Probably one of my all-time favorite moments at Goss Stadium was watching Stephen Kwan get his first baseball hit as a Beaver. And now you see Stephen Kwan playing in Cleveland, and he's all jacked up. I mean, Stephen Kwan was this little kid that didn't weigh anything, who was sitting there playing for the Beavs for his first time, and he gets a hit, and he runs down to first base, and he makes it to first base, and he turns, and his team's all hooting and hollering, and he has just pure joy and excitement on his face as he's celebrating. And it's why to this day he's my wife's favorite player. That one moment of his just pure joy of watching. But I mean, a guy who gets up and his walk-up songs Hit the Quan, and then the walk-up song Dancing Queen. I mean, how do you not love that guy and to do that stuff? So I mean, that's pretty incredible. And obviously Adley Rushman over my head here. I've got a big poster of him on my wall. I mean, you can't be a Beaver fan and not, be in love with Adley and all the stuff he did for us. Just watching him as a freshman catching and watch how incredible he received the ball, the way he worked with all of our pitchers. There's no surprise that our pitchers in, 17, 18, and 19 were phenomenal. They had these great performances and these great things from these guys. I mean, Femmel will get in the 10 strikeout games because Adley's back there catching for him. And, Adley's framing every ball, catching it coming into the center of the plate, bringing it in an inch or two. He doesn't catch it moving away. And just watching him defensively, thinking, man, this guy is one of the best defensive catchers I've ever seen. I think he's going to go pro as a defensive guy. And then he starts hitting. We see him in the 2018 College World Series, maybe put up the best performance we'll ever see at the College World Series. I mean, maybe there'll be somebody better, but man, I mean, that's hard to believe. And, there's no doubt in my mind that our pitchers were better because they had Adley back there, supporting him and telling him what to do and catching the ball and doing all that stuff. We look at Baltimore, now he's in Baltimore, they've turned it around, so it's pretty incredible to watch these guys, but we've had so many incredible players that Adley definitely has to be my all-time favorite, but Travis is pushing hard on that right now. So
Travis, he's making a run for it. Let me tell you, he is really pushing. And just the way he's grown as a man and as a ball player since his freshman year, it reminds me a lot of Adley. Like Adley came in very composed, young guy, doing the right things, and he grew so much between his freshman and junior years. I feel the same way here about Travis, and he's just been getting better every single week. And then you see the numbers he's putting up. He's about to he broke the career record for home runs. He's about to break the single record for home runs. He's doing all of this, and they're pitching around him. They're not even facing him anymore. And Adley got that same, whatever luxury or whatever you want to call it these days. But Travis is still doing it when he does get an opportunity, right? He gets a pitch and he hits it over the fence. We both said, "Man, Kyle's going to walk him here," and then he hits that bomb to left, and we're like, "Why? Why? There's a base open with 2 outs. I just don't get it." I love Travis. I think that he is right there among the top picks right now. Do you think Travis should be another 1-1 pick for Oregon State?
Boy, I mean, if he becomes the 101 this year, he's going to be the first second baseman ever taken with the first overall pick. I mean, Ricky Weeks was taken second. I think that's the highest there's ever been of one. And he was taken second after having multiple years of being, the national batting title leader. I think he was the Golden Spike winner coming out of that year. He, still goes with the second pick. And so if I'm the GM, I'm taking Travis for sure, because who are you going to pick? You're going to pick a, high school arm. You're going to pick somebody that's a college arm, that's a pitcher that we all know right now, pitchers are nonstop getting injured because everybody's throwing 100% all the time. You're not going in there and throwing 90% for 7 innings and maybe spiking a couple balls a little bit harder when you have to. Everybody's throwing all the time. So if you're the GM, are you going to take a, star pitcher early and hope that he doesn't get injured or doesn't miss a couple years, Tommy John? Then you look at the other big hitters in college baseball right now. A lot of them don't play a key defensive position like second base. So, I mean,
yeah,
if it's my choice, I'm taking Travis because I know his work ethic. I know he's going to work harder than everybody else, that kind of stuff. So I know if he doesn't go 101, he's for sure going to be real shortly thereafter. And I mean, it'll be historic if he does.
Yeah, I think it's going to be real close. He's either going to be 1, 2, 3, somewhere in there. I feel right now it's a coin flip between him and Charlie Condon from Georgia, right? Condon can hit. He's been hitting his whole career. Defensively, they don't really know where he's going to play in the MLB. It's probably going to end up being a corner outfielder. But yeah, Travis is locked in a second. He's gotten so much better with his hands and feet and fielding ground balls out in front of him and doing things the right way. And he's gotten bigger and stronger and faster. And he really, truly is a 5-tool player. And you don't get to draft those every single day. So I would be shocked if he drops anywhere but first or second, but I really want him to go 1-1 and be another 1-1 like Adley. I think it
That'd
would
be
just
pretty
be
cool.
huge for Oregon State, right? Just saying, still producing, still got guys coming in there. Canham's doing a great job of getting guys in there. I hope for Travis's sake, just because also he's just a nice, great young man. I know you and I both have a lot of respect for him and both love him. We think the world of this guy, and I think the nation is starting to catch up with our love for Travis all over the country here.
Sure. It's
All
hard
right,
to,
Scott.
like you said, his defense. I mean, just
It's
watching
good.
him get in front of the ball. He's throwing balls from the other side of second base that he's making these throws. So he's got an arm to get there and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. It's super impressive. And like you said, teams aren't pitching to him, but he's still being selective. I think he's for a long time had 3 times as many walks as he had strikeouts. It's close now. It might be a little under that after a tough weekend where he got called a couple times where, maybe the ball was a ball, but it doesn't really matter now. But like you said, teams aren't pitching him. And we don't play in, SEC weather where the ball is just going to fly out of everywhere. Like there was a point this year where Travis had 18 home runs and all the teams that have played against us, all of their players had hit 13 and over 1,000 at bats. And he had 18 and just over 100. So I mean, you're just going like, it just doesn't happen. So he's definitely a rare talent. Love to see
Super
him go
tough.
1-1.
Absolutely. Speaking of watching him at home, we've been through a lot of the weather out there. What are your favorite seats in Goss? I know we both have sat all over the stadium. We both have been everywhere. What are your favorite seats in Goss Stadium?
There's no bad seat at Goss. That's really the thing. I mean, maybe the outfield a little bit, but you still might catch a home run ball or you're not, the concessions are tough out there, that kind of thing. But anywhere inside the stadium is pretty awesome. And like you said, when it's raining and we're the only ones there, you can go sit anywhere you want.
Wherever
I
you
still
need.
tend to go up to, section 3, row 8. Shout out to all my section 3 people out there. Because we're right there, home plate, first base, but we're high enough that you're up high, you can watch the crowd. And that's fun to do is watch the whole crowd. You can look right in the Beaver dugout, because we're a third base dugout team. So, like we're over there, you can look right in the dugout. My favorite part about that is I can stand as much as I want to stand. I can
It's great.
fidget and do stuff. But, I got those seats and then my kids got old enough to go to games and they'd be out there chasing foul balls right behind you. And, if you're not familiar with Goss Stadium, I mean, it's right there in the heart of campus. And, there's a nice walkway right behind the stadium there. So every ball that gets hit foul goes right over my head and off the brick building behind me and down into that alleyway. And, I'm yelling ball, ball, ball and pointing a direction for the kids. And the kids are running out there chasing foul balls and getting that extra part of it. I mean, there's not much more excitement than watching a young kid get a baseball at a, college baseball game, And so you're watching these kids chase foul balls and get a ball and they're yelling thank you because you hollered at them which way to run. And, they're running inside and they're showing their mom and their dad and their brother. And, they're just, that's a cool added benefit to being there. And I'm in row 8. So, I mean, you're not many rows from the field. And,
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. And so it's just, you get the whole experience up there where I think I've sat right behind home plate and you're really close to the netting and it's moving in and out and you can see the game really well and where the pitch is and what's going on, but you're kind of blocked by the umpire, you're kind of blocked by the catcher, and then you don't see everything. You can't see it as well as you can sitting a little bit higher up and a little bit farther back. And so that's where I love to be. I love row 8 and section 3. So how about you?
Row 8, section 3 has been great since you've added me up there with everybody, and it's been just a terrific place to watch a ball game. And the fans up there really do show up and show out, and they really care about the game. And it's a great section. So everybody out there in section 3, we love you. Thanks for coming out to the games. It's been great talking to everybody, and it's a great seat. There is no bad seat at Goss Stadium. You really don't go wrong. You can sit in Casey's corner. You can sit in the outfield. You're gonna have a great time going to a game at Goss Stadium, and it's really great. I can't wait until we get the full wraparound in a couple years. It's all the way
Sure.
around the outfield, and we're gonna have all those grandstands filled, and we're gonna have all the food and concessions out there as well. But right now, nothing beats Section 3, Row 8, in my mind. Toughest opponents in Goss. One, two. Who do you got that has been the hardest opponent over the years that you think that has come to Goss Stadium?
I mean, we've, like you said, we played Vanderbilt a couple times. Auburn was a tough opponent when they came, that kind of stuff. Everybody wants to say our biggest rivals, the Ducks, but I still think, we don't want to beat anybody more than we want to beat Washington. Washington, ever since 2016, when Lindsey Maggs, was on the selection committee, when we found out we weren't on the thing, they kind of said, well, your selection committee person said this, and this about you guys. And we're like, what? They said our only player on our team was Nick Madrigal and he was injured. And that's the team, that, has a whole team full of Trevor Larnacks and superstars and, all
First
these
round
other
draft
players.
picks.
And geez, KJ Harrison and all these other players. And, he trash talks us. So ever since then, we love beating Washington. And it's sad now that he's gone, but, that he's not there coming into Goss and getting the ribbing from the entire fan base. But, you got to love beating Washington. We got Oregon coming in this weekend. That's always a tough matchup. It's a tough matchup because you want to win them all and you want to win them all big, so, we're 19-1 this year at home. We tend to be really good at home. So I don't know if there's a lot of tough opponents, but, that's kind of my take on that whole thing.
For me, over all the years and all the games I've been to, Stanford's right there, right? With all the super regionals we've played against Stanford, all the great games you and I both, the Jerpy game there where they lost 2-1. I mean, Stanford is a tough opponent, and seeing David Esker in there and count. And then I got a little bad taste in my mouth this last home series, and when they were there, and they were really not the Stanford team that we
Oh,
have seen in the past, where they had it together and they were kind of professional, and they kind of got chippy and got out of it. Didn't really feel very characteristic of the Stanford club, but I think Stanford is the toughest opponent in Goss for
sure.
me.
No, and they were, man, I can't tell you how many cuss words that were screamed. And you got stands full of kids on Sunday. The kids are getting ready to go down and run the bases. And, two of their players get kicked out of the game for cussing out, yelling at our players, and they're dropping, all kinds of curse words that I won't say here on the thing and that kind of thing. And they're yelling at it. And we got kids there, I don't know, 7 or 8-year-old bat boy standing right next to their guy screaming at the top of his, lungs, telling us to, go, so their 2 players get kicked out, and then their players come back after the game and they're all celebrating on the field because they won a game. And they're sitting there as all of our kids are lining up to go run the bases. They're sitting there yelling, at their own teammates every celebration through 25 other players. These 2 guys are cussing and doing this stuff. And it's not a typical Stanford thing. It's, it was Cal for a lot of years. So I think it's more, like you said, David Esker bringing a team in, and that's maybe his style. Maybe it's the pressure of being 13-19 at that point, whatever it was. It's not normal and typical for them. I think fans usually get along really well. I talked to a couple of their fans earlier in the game, and I see their fans and I thank them for coming out and say, hey, let's play with no injuries today. They go, wow, thanks, and they're excited to have us be polite and that kind of stuff. And then to have their kids be so, disrespectful. And it's a game. I understand excitement. And if you want to be excited and do that stuff, but when you're, screaming cuss words at the top of your lungs at the fans or at the other team and that kind of stuff with that many kids present, that's a tough thing to watch.
Yeah, and we both, we get it. It's competitive. We love the competitive nature, but that felt a little overboard for what normally goes on for a Stanford ball club.
I will say LSU probably travels as well as anybody I've seen come out. Like, they came out for the, regionals here, and man, they were loud, and, I think they had 2 Louisiana teams in that regional. So that kind of helped because they had kind of both teams were there and that kind of stuff. But, their fans are loud and they travel well and that kind of stuff. And, I'm kind of watching this thing and thinking, man, are they going to get into the bottom of this bracket and come out to, Oregon State this year? And that'd be fun to watch them come and that kind of stuff. And, because we know the selection committee loves to pair Oregon State and LSU for whatever reason. It's just how it is. But
loves to send them out west.
Yeah.
It feels like
yeah.
It feels like LSU or Mississippi State. They're just like, how do we match up these ball clubs into the postseason? And we love it. And DBU is another one too. Dallas Baptist and TCU are a couple schools that we always seem to match up with. I guess when you're in the playoffs all the time, though, you start matching up with some of the same teams when they're in the playoffs as well.
I think that's probably more to do with it than anything.
All right, Scott, we've had a big half hour here. What are your final thoughts on this Beaver team going forward and going into the rest of the season here? I know that we're going to catch a lot of games here down the stretch. I can't wait to watch more games with you, buddy. But what are your final thoughts here on this team?
Like you said, everything's in front of us. We've got Oregon at home. We play Arizona in Arizona. So those are going to be some big, movement in the Pac-12 series. We have it all right there. We can win it all. All we got to do is play those series and play those series well. We have a team that I think is going to gel. I think they're really going to come together and figure out, all this stuff. We've got a lot of experience being handed out to you. You got a lot of young players. If we get players back, we're going to be super deep. Our coaches are experimenting. They're trying to figure out, hey, can we rely on this kid in the 8th inning if we need him, or the 7th inning if we need him now in April when it's not important, because that's how it's going to do. People forget that Kevin Abel wasn't Kevin Abel until the College World Series and about 2 weeks beforehand, but there was a few really bad growing pain starts early in the season when his ERA was 6.5, and people are going, why are we playing this kid? I mean, I remember hearing fans complaining about that. And so, we just got to let the coaches coach and let them figure out what's going on. And I think our team's going to gel together. We got it all in front of us. I think that we're going to get some players back healthy, hopefully, as we move forward. And man, watch out.
I agree. And I'm with you. I don't love the slander that people are giving to this coaching staff. Give them a minute. Give them a chance here. Like I've said before, you don't want to be the hottest team in April. You want to be the hottest team in May. There's plenty of time. The whole season's in front of them. Cannot wait to watch some more games with you, Scott. Thanks again for coming on College Baseball Central, Best Coast. Appreciate you coming on, Scott, and enjoying a little bit of time with Beaver Talk with me. We'll see you this weekend. I'll be down there Friday, buddy.
Okay. Look forward to seeing you. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, buddy.